well, and then we tested it again, and it was like night and day. So it automatically gave me like way more power, and I went from like a 3 on both sides to like a 4 on both sides, just with some opening up of that ab wall and some expansion of this right chest wall. So it can change, but I think you need to have the right input, which again, in their setting where they're doing manual techniques and they're doing these other things and have different tools, it works really quickly. In our setting, it's kind of like, well, what do we actually have access to, and how does it apply to getting to training? We're probably going to use it more as a way to just kind of give some people some awareness, right? Thomas test. Okay. Dylan, come over here. Fly. You're wearing red, buddy. I'm wearing red. This is a team effort. All right. So typically, what they would do, right? You can do it a couple different ways, right? So we can either go both knees up here, right? Hold one in. Yeah, just put them on your chest. Yeah. And then we're gonna let one drop. That's it. So do you?
See, is it sitting on the thing or
no? No.
I'm just chilling.
I wish that was the case.
It looks like it's on the foot rest.
It does.
I have to let you guys know as far as it's going.
All right. So what we're looking at as I bring this down, it goes. As I bring that back, it goes up. So what it's just telling you is that, man, there's some huge tension length relationships here that are like out of whack.
Do they, when you're doing that, do you want low back into the bench?
So if I push this all the way back, you should push down, right? And now, if they used to, a lot of people be like, all right, so if I do this and it lifts the knee up, it's a hip flexor issue. If I do this and it extends the foot, it's a rectus femoris issue. Like, who cares, right? We know that that's jacked up. The idea that if we correct whatever is going on here, it should all change. Right? You could choose it as maybe a way to dictate your like massage or treatment plan. Like, yep, I need to loosen this up first, and then maybe go at some other stuff if they're getting some information. But in reality, this is all just a way to tell you that yes, this complex is not correct. I need to address it. Yeah. So you could do soft tissue right here. You could use soft tissue work. You could do stretches, passive stretches, like all that stuff. I don't know. I think if you had more information, so we know his adduction drop test is really jacked up too, right? He's probably got to address whatever's going on back here and here before I even go after a hip. Right? So then we can do it this way, go to the other side. So again, let this guy go out. Actually, don't. Yeah, there you go. All right, and again, a little bit stiff, tight. You can
better on that side.
Yeah, much better. Well, let's try. Let's see it again. Yeah.
Much better.
Much better.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing. That is your right, like AIC pad. Or left AIC pad.
Right.
Okay, and that left, because my pelvis is going to do this, right? This left hip is really pushed forward. I'm going to get this hip flexor really kind of on tension. Huh? What way? What do you mean?
Like
you're up.
You're like here is what you just showed.
That's the left. You're standing into the right.
This is how I normally would be.
Let me see.
Standing into the left though.
So yeah, so let me see the other side. You might be able to just. Here's it. You can shift in and out.
Okay.
Which?
All I know is when I was standing here and then you started talking, I'm like, ooh, ooh.
Well, come here. Let's see what you got there. And actually, you know what? Let's flip it around so that we don't get stuck on that. So head down there, foot down there. All right. So pull both knees up into our chest. Yep. Good. All right, and then let this go down. All right. So that's very different. Okay, this is pretty good. No pain or anything like that, right?
I was just trying to figure out which side I can stand on.
Okay, it went down.
Yeah. So let's just confirm.
Wait, you think what side went down easier?
The right side.
I think they're both probably fine. All right. So you would, if there's a couple of things that they check for, is if I have a positive adduction drop test on both sides, where like I can't do this at all, and then we put him in a Thomas test, and all of a sudden both femurs just drop. Like his did not. That's actually what we want to see. If they both drop, what they would call that is like usually pathological, and that they've probably blown through some kind of ligament stability or something to get now that femur to slide in and out of that spot, because there's no muscle holding in place, and now there's no ligament holding in place. For some reason, that thing can drop in one direction but not the other. It's kind of weird. All right. So a lot of times, some of our female present that pretty more than males, is what I typically see. Right? And then this hip snapping test, you know, like when you do a single leg lower and you feel like that hip snap across. All right. One of the I was just reading what they were talking about with that. Place hand on the crease of the hip as it is brought into flexion. Then the thigh is guided to abduction and extension, then permitted to return to the neutral position. The examiner palpates for a clicking during the return to neutral phase. A click represents an overly stretched adductor group and a lax anterior capsular ligamentous structure. Right? So that's pretty much, most of the time I would say we probably have people get a hip snapping on a single leg lower on their left leg, which would make sense because we always usually are going after this left adductor that's hanging out in the breeze. Right? So there's a couple ways I was looking at it. I don't remember them actually showing how to do it, but if I bring this up, bring it out, and kind of go into extension, then come to the cat, and you feel like clicking across that joint, that's what they're talking about. Right? Okay, so let's go into some of these exercises. So the first thing that we do for left AIC is usually establish sagittal plane first. Right? So if I have someone that is here and arching kind of their back, we want to get these hamstrings to pull this pelvis back underneath us a little bit and then pull us back into the left side. So that's where we go 90-90 breathing is usually like the first thing we always start with. It's pretty low risk. It doesn't really need too much. So
Yes.
you want to try it?
No, that's right. Thanks.
Doug's gonna be on your game.
It's gonna be your program, so somebody will want to do it.
Alright, so here's the thing. We're gonna demonstrate a couple of them, and then we're all just gonna try them and see what we notice. Okay. So Doug's gonna lie on his back. His feet are gonna be up on the box. His knees and hips are gonna be at 90 degrees. Huh?
Check, so touch it all.
No.
It's not there. Here, there's no touch.
Let's see if it was.
There's no touch.
Yeah, that is a good. Dylan makes a very good point. We should check some kind of assessment first to then give us a better idea. Is this the right avenue for us to start? All right. So yoga block between the knees. We're gonna get toes pulled back to shins. All right. The first thing we want to do is dig heels into the box, and then we're gonna scoop our tailbone up off the floor just a little bit. All right. So I should start to feel hamstrings holding me up. All right. Now we can do it with a left hemi bridge, which means he's gonna kind of shift this knee forward a little bit and pull this knee back. So he's gonna, so now he's in his left hip.
This way
Yes.
or this way?
Nope, you had it right? I'm sliding this up and pulling this back. Now he's gonna take this right foot and hold it in the air. All right,
Just all the way up or just?
wherever you want, that's cool. You feel this is like doing some work.
Yeah.
Yep, all right. So he's gonna breathe in through his nose, blow all the air out, pause for a second on the exhale, and then go in through his nose again, blow all the air out. All right, so relax for a second. All right, the big thing on a lot of these is not doing this. All right, that is not an exhale. What I'm doing is I'm leaving pressure in my chest because I'm not fully getting everything out. So a lot of times when we look at like shoulders, if I go, it's gonna be really hard to then move that humeral head because this is all stuck. But if I go, now I should be able to get way more. It's the same thing with the hip, all right? So if I take a breath in and I pull it up and forward and I kind of go, my back is still stuck in extension. If he was a PEC, we would not have him on his back because he can't really breathe well in it, and it's going to be really hard to cycle air while he's doing this exercise, right? So what I want is for you to go and try to dump all that air out and let those ribs kind of roll down. Your cue is to try to blow a hole in the ceiling. Okay, so dig the heels, scoop the butt a little bit, shift the knee a little bit, fantastic. Blow.
Would you help with this ribs at all?
I might. Big exhale, pull it out, Doug. Alright? We can also facilitate a little bit, which Doug's actually doing a really good job, so take a breath in. And then I'm just going to give him a little bit of guidance. Blow, 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 blow. Right? What's cool is now he's got his ribs almost level with his pelvis. Right? Whereas before he was like popping the bar.
His back is on the mat.
His back is rolled into the ground. Correct. I can't get my hand right there. How hard is that left hamstring working?
Pretty hard.
Pretty hard. Right? Good. Relax. Right? So that's what we're searching for. Right? We're trying to get him to use his left hamstring to pull this pelvis back in, because if this is my orientation right? I have a stretched out left hamstring on this side, and I have a glute max on this side that isn't doing anything, right? And what we're trying to do is then pull it back into this. So if I can't restore the ability to kind of tilt the pelvis, I'm probably not going to be able to get out of this stuck position, which means anything I do is going to shut off these guys and use, like we were just talking about 2 seconds ago. Our new idea of what the core is actually more like, I need hamstrings to control the pelvis from the bottom. I need abs to control the ribs and the anterior pelvis from the top, right? Doesn't mean that these guys shouldn't be doing anything, but they're usually way more dominant than we would like. So if I can get these guys doing their job, and then these guys to at least kind of stay in the game or only need them when we like really, really want, we're having a much better job of controlling it from them just getting stuck in that position.
So what you said before this test, you would have wanted to do a hamstring or a toe touch test first.
Yes.
To rule out what?
Just to see.
Just to see.
Yeah.
I did something, was it 2 falls ago? I had a class, and it was like right after I started working in, and we had to do something for like my statistics, my in sports class or whatever. So I did this test and tested all my teammates. I tested all my teammates' toe touch, and then remeasured it after doing this or whatever, and I had like, I think, like 80 to 90% of them all improved by like that much.
Oh, just to measure improvement after doing this.
Yeah, so a lot of my
Before and
teammates,
after.
just because, you know, with the soccer stuff, what I was talking about was like ACL injuries and how it relates to the hamstring and stuff
So,
like that. People like, oh, your hamstrings are tight or weak.
Pivoting
The
the
pelvis.
hips
Yeah.
back normal, does that, it just release tension in the hamstring? Like, how is that gonna help?
Okay, so the main thing with all this stuff is we're really looking at, I would say movement is a really good audit of system load. Okay, so if I have an athlete who is just constantly like hammering himself with fitness, you're gonna remove the ability to move through 4 ranges of motion based on the adaptation of what you're doing, right? Which isn't a horrible thing, right? Because it may make you really good at your sport. The only thing though is now you have to target like the tissues that are getting most of the stress because of your new position are constantly under like stress, right? And they may be pushed past threat, like stuff like that. The other thing too is if I can't alleviate that position and I'm stuck in it, then I'm constantly like gearing up for whatever that is. So if I have someone that's like this all the time, my erectors are on, right? I probably have some hyperinflated lungs, right? And it makes it really hard to actually just go and shut down. So in that sense, like what we're trying to do is that I know that if you can demonstrate this, the likelihood of you having the ability to demonstrate most athletic endeavors is probably higher. It also means that you are able to disperse stress through all of the tissues, as opposed to, man, if I can only do this, and I'm locking my knees out really hard, and I can only go through here, I don't know, like if I ask you to go pick up something off the floor, how are you going to get down?
Right, no, I understand that,
Yeah.
but how does this test
So
then improve?
All right, so to your point, right? Why is all of a sudden doing one hamstring going to allow me to bilaterally touch my toes?
Exactly.
Okay. If I'm oriented in this way, there's only so much room that the joints can get me down there, right? So if I'm kind of stuck like this, I mean, again, I'm exaggerating it, but in reality, just slight maneuvers are going to end range things much quicker. So I may be here, and I can only get, you'll see, Ryan was with me the other day, he's like, please save me. And he's like, something doesn't feel good. And I was like, all right, well then let's adjust your program. I only see your toe touch. And he literally was like this. Right? So he's all the way just to one side. You can't move things like smoothly if you have a bilateral system. So what I'm doing is I'm unlocking a little bit of that movement back so that you can demonstrate capacity. The other thing too is you won't fatigue one side quicker than the other, because if I can't get into my left side at all, I can't run. So we have a perfect example is I have one woman who runs on our woodway, and she skips. Like you can hear this like mark on her left foot constantly, because she can't figure out how to actually come down and pull through. She just jams it into the woodway, and it goes every time she's running. We did a left adductor pull back, and she's like, oh yeah, it's still smoother, and her speed went up. Right? She still got tired, but she was now moving a little more efficiently, which gave us back performance. That's more important. Like where we're looking at this stuff is, I know that when we have kids that kind of are able to not get stuck in a posture or be able to use everything a little bit better, we see these huge jumps in performances, right? Especially single leg hopping upstairs. Right? We watch kids and they're going up on the right leg, and pop, 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 and the left leg looks like somebody gave them like 10 beers, right? They're like, they can't even do it. We give them with the left hamstring and the left adductor back, and also like, oh yeah, that feels so much better. What did you do? It's like, you can now feel your left leg. That's it. So when we look at